and culture. But in the era of globalization, right, should we confine ourselves to geographical boundaries or regional blocks like South Asia or Europe or Asia Pacific block, something like Japanese block? So is it really, how is it going to align us with universal values in literature? And as you mentioned, right, in your speech, are we not trying to homogenize again in the name of South Asia? The one question. Second question was, yesterday Professor Katarina spoke about post-colonial and post-communist literature. We have to compare both of them, right? But in India, communism is not an oppressive force. It has been the ideology of the laboring classes. So could we make any comparison between these two situations, post-colonial and post-communist? These are my two questions to my colleagues, right?
So, whatever questions you have, either if you have any comments immediately after the question, you can talk about them. But if somebody else wants to say something related to the same thing, any questions related to the same thing, then you can simultaneously ask them so that there could be any fruitful discussion.
Participants, please announce your name and college before you ask a question. That would be easy for us to answer it.
I'm Dr. Kanakamalini MA from Mysore. So, taking into consideration the kind of visuals that we have in our subcontinent, leave alone the other countries. So, in India itself, the subcontinent itself, every state itself, has so many visuals of all types. So, like when I was going through the Northeastern literature for the paper presentation, I read at one particular point that there is no literature as Northeastern literature. So they don't have a common heritage or culture. That is what it is stated there. So in one part of the subcontinent, such a kind of argument is there. How can a canon of South Asian literature can be considered? How strong it will be when it is considered? So that's what is my question. So the fissures are so strong in our society, like caste, gender, so many that we have already seen here. And what exactly the nature of South Asian literature? What are its strengths and weaknesses? That's what I want to say.
That is precisely what I argued about. In fact, if you look at Meghalaya, they have two dominant classes, two dominant castes there, Garo and Khasi. They don't have their original script as such. They use Bengali script to write anything. Now, whatever literature they have, if at all, it exists only in the form of folk literature, in oral tradition, transferred from generation to generation. Now, in this situation, when we talk about South Asian literature, things like these are bound to be there. This is marginal. Northeastern literature or folk traditions, they are all marginal. And when we talk about bridging gaps, I talked about it. We are talking about canon formation itself. So that is precisely what is likely to happen. Whenever there is an attempt to come together, to abolish borders, to come together and homogenize, these things are bound to happen. Some sections are going to be left on their own without their inclusion in the canon itself. So these things are bound to be there. Wherever there are communities, wherever there is a kind of homogenizing attempt, these things will be there because certain sections will be overlooked. This is part of nature itself. Now, can we address these issues from theoretical perspectives? That is the question. Even Ravindran also talked about the fact of globalization. Now, are we including everything here? Can we abolish geographical borders? It's almost impossible. When we come together as a community, we separate ourselves from the other. So this alterity is very much the fact of life. In fact, whenever we refer to ourselves as I, whenever we say I, it is always dependent upon the you. In Sanskrit, Chandogya Upanishad, there is a Mahavakya as they call it. It is Tat Tvam Asi. That means you are that. So that dependence exists on the basis of separation itself. If there is no separation between you and I, the two terms won't exist at all. So, taking a cue from these Mahavakyas, basic things which you find in ancient literatures, this is bound to be there. There is going to be the fact of alterity. How can we change? That theories that we produce today address these issues. That is the question. These fissures, as we talk about them, they will be there. They will always be there. That's what I think.
I have just an observation to make. The marginality of the Northeast that you were speaking about is different from subalternism, subalternity of the rest of the region. Because the Northeast is geographically isolated. I'm talking in particular of Mizoram, where I have stayed for almost 20 years. There the literacy rate is second only to Kerala. So you see, they are an educated lot. And there is no form of beggary also. When our students used to come to the plains, the essay that they used to write upon going back was, we have seen beggars. This concept of beggars does not exist in a state like Mizoram. So this is just an observation that I wanted to make. Minority is, subaltern. The concept of the subaltern does not exist in a state like Mizoram. Even though it is physically isolated from the rest of India, and they call themselves, the plains people are called Bhais, that is foreigners. Actually, Bhai, from Bhai, a sense of brotherhood with the plains people, it has come down to the concept of the plains people being foreigners. So that fissure does exist in the Northeast also. Yes. But the concept of this minority, subalternity, does not exist there.
Before we move ahead to next question,
I am very similar myself based from Odisha manufacturer, not market. Yesterday, one of the paper presenter quoted, "You are what you eat." I want to have a discussion on it. Is it true? You are what you eat. As there are cultures, there are food cultures also. There are geographical separations. You can't blame any of the culture because of having typical eating habits. So, what is your opinion? Do you agree? You are what you eat.
Now, from one extreme, we will go to the other extreme. But you are what you eat. You are what you eat. So both questions are there. What you are and what you eat. Can we really bring them together? In one sense, it is true that if you eat very spicy food, your humors are troubled. That can happen. So it can affect your tendencies also in life. But apart from that, this is one extreme. Another extreme is you should eat what is suitable to your physical health. That is one thing. And yet, you can have thousands of problems. Everybody's body structure is different. So, food culture actually should depend upon one's own ability to digest. There is nothing, nothing like water here. You can eat anything. You can eat American food. But the problem is, if you eat Western food in India, prepared in their style, then it can affect our body, our physical health, because our climate is not as cold as theirs. So we cannot have fatty food to that extent, which they are used to it. Their bodies can digest that because it is a need of their climate. Just as polar bears, for example, they keep eating a lot of fish because they want to store their energy for the next 4 or 5 months when it's winter hibernation. So that actually should depend upon one's own physical health and the climate in which you live. And of course, various regions have various varieties of food, and they all depend upon, this has been probably ancient knowledge, all these food habits depend upon that geographical region and the climatic conditions. So there is nothing of low value or high value in a food culture.
One question related to the same. Yesterday one presenter referred to cuisine, right? Inclusion and exclusion. So is it necessary to become non-vegetarian to become a global citizen? So when we say inclusion and exclusion, what are the food habits in relation to caste system in India? Does it refer to any exclusion system? One thing. Another thing is, even Bernard Shaw, right? He was a vegetarian. So what about animal rights? We talk about human rights, that's okay. In Elizabeth Costello novel by Coetzee, like talks about animal rights, post-human rights. So can you throw some light on it? Because when you want to become global citizen, you have to go everywhere and you have to eat whatever is available to you, and you have to change your hybrid, adopt hybrid culture, all these things.
It's quite true. Suppose you go to the UK to live in. Obviously, due to the climate there, you have to eat that kind of food which is more suitable in that climate. So that is very much true. There is nothing sacrosanct about your food habits. They can keep changing from time to time. Even though you will remember when you were probably when you were a small child, you did not like certain dishes, but now you like them. So these changes do occur in personal life also, even if you do not leave your place at all. So these changes occur, and very often it happens that when you go to any other part of the country or of the whole universe, you have to eat that kind of food which is suitable there for living. It is as simple as that.
Especially the Ganeshwar Maharaj says in Marathi Ganeshwari, Ahara taisa dhekar, dhatu taisa vikar, vikar taise prajaja. That sentence is given the basic and fundamental meaning. There is a three types of the food. One is called the tamas ahar, second is called rajoguni ahar, and third is called satvika. This is the basic and fundamental for all the world's people. So we try to understand one sentence about the Ganeshwari. Ahara taisa dhekar, dhatu taisa vikar, vikar taise prajaja. That means when we eating the non-vegetarian food, then after the 6 hours, our blood is created, and our blood is created 1 lakh bloods, 1 lakh bloods point created 1 genes, and all the people is created from that, which is basically said people also are like that, means when non-vegetarian. But Ganeshwar Maharaj also said beyond the three, you go beyond the Rajogun, you go beyond the Rajo Ahar, you go beyond the Satvik Ahar, and you go beyond the Tamoguni Ahar. You are beyond 3 of them, and that is the very important point in the Ganeshwari. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I think let us move ahead and
I have one point.
regarding diet, eating habits.
Regarding yesterday's presentation, that I feel we
You
should
are pretty audible.
Hybrid literature, that is very important in today's scenario. We see the world, we are moving very fast, and our generation and coming generation, we are not able to imagine how fast we are moving. But then we have a double challenge in front of us, as Indian society has been very conservative, different class, different setup. So, how are we going to solve this issue regarding this sort of conflict
of rigidity of maintaining our this purity so-called caste, this and then to accept the challenges, great challenges, changes, to move ahead, and to accept the hybrid culture, to mix up, or to openly accept to be global, to be mixed with the whole world, or like that. So I guess you have got my point. How are we going to make balance between coming modern, postmodern time and about that, and along with preserving the this our culture, or to maintain overall everything? How are we going to manage? Thank you.
Any other question?
And non-vegetarian people. Very interesting observations are made. For example, earlier, Brahmins they used to eat meat. Then how this change took place, you will find that this idea of non-vegetarian food was taken from Buddhism. Okay. Later on, as they were the role models, that other communities, they also decided to follow them. So as far as this food habits are concerned in India, as Sir had said, that first thing is that whether it suits to your, that climate, whether it suits to your body, these are the basic things. But in our country, that it has got certain kind of sacrosanct, the church is there. And again, some religious elements are involved. So the first thing is that as far as the food, so the canon formation is that actually means that what are the things which are suitable to you, easily available. And there is nothing sacrosanct about any kind of food. That is one point. Now, second thing is that when you are talking about hybrid things or hybrid culture. Now, in India, that we are trying, particularly this young generation, today's young generation, yes, they are trying to come out of this typical mindset. But still, the problem is with the caste system. And again, Dr. Ambedkar has given the answer to this one. The root cause is in the caste, and that is why I said that annihilation of the caste. Unless we do the annihilation of the caste, these problems are likely to be there. If you want to get homogenized, that if you want a certain kind of harmony, the first thing is that you should have a free mind. Unless compartments are there, if you are restricting yourself to that particular caste or that religion, that bringing that homogeneity is not possible. And particularly at the international level, if you want to go, that first at your home, that you will have to train for that thing. And I think then only at the international level that you can say that yes, we can follow those things. Because we see that a paradox in Indian culture that we say that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That when you say that this whole universe is my house, but in your own country, in your own district, in your own village, what kind of system you are following? And I think these things, unless we think, unless we take a concrete, stand, I don't think that we will be able to achieve that goal.
Can you just a moment? I'm talking about her question. Do you think our races are pure? As of now, today.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Personally?
No. You can talk on behalf of the whole class. No question.
I guess I would like to answer what she said.
Do you think we are pure races now? Do you think our languages are pure? Nothing is pure, because life is constituted of changes, and these changes have been taking place for a very long time now. Thousands of years ago, millions of years ago they started probably, and they are undergoing changes constantly. So nothing is stable. So talking about purity is a kind of myth.
No, so I'm not stick to purity. I'm just talking about the challenge that the younger generation is now facing at present.